Hey folks, this is Gray here, and today we're going to be looking at the BLUETTI AC70, a 1000 watt portable power station rated at 768 watt hours. Alright, so what are you going to get out of this video? Probably a lot more than you expect. What I mean by that is this video is also going to include a giveaway. That being said, let's see how this video is going to break down. So first we're going to go over we're going to take the unit itself, put it on the back bench. We'll take a look at the panel of the inputs and outputs and how the unit functions and works. We'll go over some of the specifications as well. Then we'll dive into a bit of testing as well and push the unit itself to see how some of its limitations and capabilities. We'll look at the uninterruptible power supply. We'll talk about the BMS system, which is your battery management software or system. Sorry, I don't know why I said software, but you know, I'm always stumbling over my words and whatnot. And we'll kind of go over what the capabilities of this unit is and some of the options that you can use something like this for, as well as towards the end of this video we'll also discuss on how you can win one of these systems for you, one of my viewers out there, and have a 1000 watt portable power station sitting in your home. Thank you to BLUETTI for sponsoring this giveaway. So enough of me rambling on as I always do. Let's go ahead and take the unit back to the back bench, take a look at it, go over everything that we need to go over, and then we'll wrap it up with me and my final thoughts on the BLUETTI AC70. Alright, so let's see what you can get in the box outside of the unit itself. Of course, you're going to get the instruction manual, which is going to give you all your breakdowns of how to use the device and whatnot. Some people may read it, some people may not. I kind of browse through them and highlight certain things in them that are useful information so that I can draw my attention to it. Things that kind of just jump out to me that I want to know. Also, you're going to get, of course, the AC plug for the unit, which is a standard, you know, kind of like the AC plug that you would see on most devices. So you're going to get one of those. You're also going to get the plug adapter, which is your DC adapter, your input for there. That's going to be there. Again, these have specialized connectors. I used to go over them, but some people get confused with them, so now I just kind of just say it's a connector and it comes with the unit. So you get that, as well as you get a solar connector as well, and you see that there with the MCCT connectors, as well as the input there for your DC. All right, so let's kind of go over the outputs first that you get on the AC70. You're going to get two 120 volt AC outlets. This is capable of 1000 watts of power in general coming out from these outlets, which the unit is rated for. And to turn on those AC outlets, all you're going to do is push this button right here. Once you push that button on, that's going to activate the AC section of the AC70, and also you're going to see that on the screen where it says AC. To turn it off, you're going to do the same. You're going to push that button. As you can see, the AC is now gone. The AC power button is off and not highlighted, and of course that's going to deactivate the AC side of the unit. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and move over to the DC button here. I'll depress that DC button, which you're going to see that DC button go green. You're going to see the DC come up on there as well, which is going to activate the DC output section. Now here you have two USB-A 12 watt outputs, as well as two USB-C 100 watt outputs. I love to see that they have 200 watt outputs because a lot of units out there only have one. It's great to see that they've added two, just because this is a common output at this point, and having that 100 watt availability to me is very imperative. So before we get over here to the inputs, let's kind of talk about the screen itself real quick. So as you notice right here, it says grid. That means I had this thing plugged into an outlet in my home, or any outlet that has 120 volts or so coming out of it. That means you have grid power coming to this. If I was to disconnect the power outlet from this unit, that grid power is going to turn off just like that. So if I plug the unit back in to the power outlet, of course the grid is going to come back on and it's going to say grid. Also, this tells you how much power you have in the battery. It says 99.9 hours because there's nothing coming in or out. This is going to tell me my AC input and my AC output. Now, for one thing, as you notice that there's nothing coming in. This unit does have a fast charge. It's called turbocharging. You have three options, and you can set this in the app itself. With that, it has a silent mode if you want to run it silent, which is minimal wattage coming in. Then you have normal, which I can show here when I recorded it. As you can see, it's going to range roughly in that 400 watt range. And then after that, if you set it to turbocharging, it can get charging AC input up to about 950 watts. All right, so let's kind of move over here to the DC and PV input. As you see there, this is going to be something that you would plug in your car charger to or solar panels. Now, this does have a 500 watt fast solar intake, and you can fully charge the system within 2 hours using that solar input at 500 watts in an optimal situation with full direct sunlight to your solar panels that are capable of producing that much power to go into the AC70. Now, what I did miss on the DC inputs here, let me kind of flip around here. This is also your DC outlet that you can run things with a cigarette adapter. And on the right side of the unit here, you're going to have, this is your AC input. There is a fuse in there. It states that right there. And it looks like just any general AC input. It's a standardized plug, which is nice. It means you can use multiple if you happen to lose yours. One thing I do like about the Blue Yeti systems is they also come with a grounding plug. Basically, there's a little screw here you can take out, and you can add, if you want to ground this to something, basically concrete or whatever you want to have a grounding spot for, you can ground the system to that, which is nice that they have this added to the unit itself. Now, the Blue Yeti AC70 portable power station is rated at 1,000 watts, which is also 768 watt hours. It does have a lifting mode, which you'll see that in the testing as well in regards to basically when you plug an AC unit or anything that's going to be a high draw amp appliance, you're going to see that surge kind of kick up and then kick back down to be where it's at its nominal levels. So what they call by lifting mode is what Blue Yeti's term is for that, is this can handle up to a peak surge up to 2,000 watts, which is doubling the power that it's rated for at 1,000 watts. So if you plug in an AC system and it kicks on, let's say the compressor kicks on, you'll see that spike and then it'll come back down. And usually the system will be able to handle that. We'll see and we'll be able to tell here shortly when we get into the testing. That being said, Blue Yeti does offer a 5-year warranty. And something that I noticed with the company also is they do what they call a 90-day express replacement service. For some reason, if you were to pick up a unit or any of their units that they have that is covered under this 90-day express replacement service, it's just a fast turnaround rate to get this replaced due to some sort of manufacturer defect. Now, some of you may ask, with all the different 7 outlets and whatnot on this, you do have several ways to charge this system. Some of them I've kind of touched on and what you can put for inputs and outputs and stuff like that. But you can do AC charging, which is through the grid itself. You have the solar charging, which I talked about up here. You can also do car charging with an input from the car charger. And it does come with the cables, as well as I showed you earlier, which you kind of get in the box. And last but not least, if you really had to, you can use a lead acid battery and wire this in to the AC unit, to the AC70 unit to charge it as well. The 3 are probably going to be your main sources of charging. The lead acid battery is a worst case scenario if you happen to have those lying around. Now, some of you may ask, is this portable? Absolutely portable. So this comes in at a weight of about 22.5 pounds. Roughly the length of this is about 12.4 inches by 8.2 inches in width and about 10.1 inches in height. Another beautiful thing about this unit as well, for being what it is, like I said, is it's kind of like a little powerhouse, you know, being at 1,000 watts, coming in at a weight around that range, being that it is a lithium iron phosphate battery. But it also has a nice seamless, uninterruptible power supply that can kick on once you lose grid power within 20 milliseconds. That's extremely fast. Some of the other ones that I reviewed in the past are about 30 milliseconds or even 40 milliseconds. They've got this down to 20 milliseconds. And of course, if you ever have any questions and stuff like that, please put them down in the comments. I kind of peruse the comments to kind of look for questions and try to answer them to the best of my ability, or at least direct you in the right direction. All right, let's get into the testing phase of the Blue Yeti AC70 and see how it performs. All right, so let's go ahead and test the AC70 out. I like to use a heater just because it's a high drain appliance. A lot of folks will kind of use something like that. Power stations of this size are not actually, you know, like, they're not really built for it, but you can kind of get a generalized idea of what can you apply to this. You always have to pay attention to the amount of watts that the unit is capable of handling. This thing can push up to 1,600 watts or pull 1,600 watts, as well as the watt hours on the unit itself. That kind of gives you an idea how long it will last. But a lot of the information, if this gets more confusing, you can kind of figure that out by the display, because that'll kind of give you an idea. So now that you see that we have everything plugged in here and we're ready to go, we are plugged into the grid. As you can see on the screen down here, it says grid. There is no input because the battery is charged to 100%, and you'll see that there is no AC output as well. But you'll see the light on there, so you know that there's power going to the unit. And what we're going to do is going to put that on fan where it's at, and you'll hear this click over once this thing kicks over. So let's go ahead and turn that button up there. You can hear that fan kick on. And then we're going to move back over here to the unit. And as you can see here, this is what's really cool about when you have it connected to your grid. It's basically going to try to keep 29 watts going into the system when it's connected to the grid to match the 29 watts that it's pushing out of the system to run that fan over here. So that you always kind of keep the battery charged as it's running. So I think that's really cool. Now let's talk about the uninterruptible power supply. So basically, if I was, like I said, we're on grid now. If I was to pull this plug right here, you're going to see the fan. Once I pull the plug, it's not going to make any type of issue. So let's go ahead and pull that. We're off the grid. As you can see, everything is still running smoothly. So that being said, now that I unplugged the system, let's kind of look at the screen real quick. It tells me if I'm running something at 29 watts, I'm going to get 19.2 hours out of the battery before it goes from 100% to 0. So if you're running something around that wattage range, you can kind of gauge the idea of how much power you have left and how long it's going to power this unit for running at 30 watts. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and stress the unit a little bit more by applying basically a heater to it, and you'll see the more that we draw from it, the more that less power that you're going to have is going to drain this battery faster. So we're going to go ahead and turn the heater on low, which is right there. Move over here real quick. You're going to see that spike right there up to 1,000, and remember the unit is rated at 1,000 watts. As you can see, it handled the surge very well. No problems there. And we're pulling almost to capacity out of the unit because the unit's rated at 1,000 watts. So currently we're pulling a little over 860. It's been fluctuating right there. Then if you come over here down here, it tells us we're going to get a little under an hour before we deplete the battery on the AC70. So running this heater on low right there, say if you were going to heat yourself, you're going to only have about a little under an hour, which gives you the limitations of when you're at 768 watt hours. So the more watt hours, if you add an additional battery to a unit or expand a unit, the more watt hours you have, the longer things last because the more battery power that it has. Hopefully that makes sense. Kind of break it down in simple terms of how a system works in regards to watt hours, because this high drain appliance here, even though it looks small, it's a heater, so it draws a lot of power. Just to kind of gauge with there. So you can always tell, it kind of does all the math work for you, how many watts is coming out of that, and also how much time that you'll have left before this battery goes down to 0. Now, I'm going to show you something really cool. Alright, so what I went ahead and did is replug the system back into the grid. As you can see, it sees grid there. Now, as you can see, it's still pulling about 800 and so watts from the heater. And it's telling me that has that 1 hour mark basically right there. But I'm also simultaneously charging the unit. So I'm pushing over 1,089 watts in to the unit from the grid and pulling 800 plus watts out. So let's say if you're running this and you're expecting a power thing, you can keep this plugged in plus to whatever you have it plugged in as well. So if I'm running the heater and I have grid power, I'm being able to simultaneously charge the unit as the unit powers the device. Same thing goes for when you're running it via solar. So you can see how beneficial it is, because as soon as I pull the plug, which you'll see this output go away, I'm still running my machine after I lost power in the home, and this is kicked over and still running the appliance. So you can see how important that would be using, let's say, something like a deep freezer or a refrigerator or something of that nature, so that when you have these power outages or brownouts or whatever it may be, your food is going to stay safe, or whatever that you have this connected to is going to keep on running. Some people may use this on other systems, security systems, internet systems, whatever that you find important to you. Like I said, freezers, refrigerators, and stuff like that. That kind of gives you an idea of how a power supply works, or a portable power station works, in regards to working with the grid or not the grid, and how it can be beneficial to having something like this in your preps. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the system into protect mode, just to kind of show you how the system has a battery management software system built into it. And when I go beyond its limitations, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of turn the heater basically to high. I don't know if you can see that there. I'm going to go to high. And basically what that unit's going to do is going to send this into protect mode. But I want to focus on the screen so that you can see what happens and how to resolve that issue if you ever run into that issue using a unit like this, and how to resolve the issue specifically with the BLUETTI product and directly to the AC70. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and push this on high. And here we go. It's on high now. And you can see everything shut off. I got some error codes right here, because it's going to try to pull a direct 1600 watts of continuous power to the heater itself. So all I would have to do is come back over here, reset this, put it on low, which I know that the unit can handle. And then we'll come back over here. We're going to turn this AC off by pushing that button. It's kind of like almost resetting the unit. And you can see the AC is coming back in now because I am to the grid. We're going to push the AC button back on. You're going to see that draw again. It peaked over there, so it was able to handle the peak. The unit is running again. And everything is back to normal. So if you ever get into that situation, it's a really easy fix. The BMS in this here is phenomenal. Very easy to, if you run into a situation like that, to resolve and get back up and running. It does the same thing even if you don't have it plugged into the grid or not. It's just the software that's inside here, or the hardware that's inside here, that kind of takes care of the unit to protect itself, so that you can't do any damage to the unit. Alright folks, so that's kind of a general overview of the AC70 in regards to the testing phase. I think the unit did well. You can see how it bounces back if it does go into protect mode. You saw how it kind of clicks over from the grid to non-grid power. Kind of went over all the information that I think that would be beneficial to you. But if you guys have any questions at all, please put that down in the comments. And if you'd rather see me test something else, I can. In the past, I've tested multiple things like AC units and other kind of like small miscellaneous electronics and stuff like that. But I figure using the heater, because it usually pushes things beyond its limit. So it has a wide range from the fan to low and high. It kind of gives you a gambit of how this thing works and how it runs. I feel like I really shouldn't have to. I mean, if you have, let's say you want to use this for tools and you're trying to use a plug in your chop saw or a Sawzall or something like that, and that Sawzall draws, let's say 300 watts. Once you plug it in, you can always tell how much power and how much time you're going to get out of something like this with 768 watt hours. So again, if you have any questions or any ideas that you'd like to see, I'm always open to suggestions and feedback, and I'm willing to, kind of, if I have it in my capability of doing so, I can add to what I'm doing here when I do some of these reviews. Alright folks, so as you see, the unit itself to me is very capable of handling a lot of different possibilities. Again, so let's say you have a deep freezer or something like that, right? So my deep freezer at its max may pull 80 to 120 watts when it's trying to cool down. But when it's just sitting there, keeping the stuff cold, it's usually pulling 0, maybe to 10 watts. It's just very, very, very minimal. So as you can see, something like this plugged into, let's say, your deep freezer, if you have one in your garage or spare room or wherever you might have something like that at, it can be something that can work for you in regards to keeping your food cold during a power outage or some sort of severe issue that you have in your home, be it a brownout, maybe the power company's turning the power off for whatever reason for a couple of hours, or you're in my position where you're in Hurricane Alley, as I like to call it here in Florida, and you're bound to be into a situation where you're going to lose power for several days, weeks, or even possibly months. I like to use the heater as a test. Like I said, it just kind of runs the gamut of what the unit can do. I felt that the unit handled the testing very well. Even when it went into protect mode, it was really easy to reset the system. The uninterruptible power supply was very quick. It does have a nice handle on it. Like I said, at that whole, what was the weight? 22.5 pounds. To me, it's not too heavy depending on your situation, you know what I mean? It does have a handle so that you can grab it and move it around a bit. All right, so a lot of you folks are wondering, how do I win a Blue Yeti AC70? It's very, very simple, folks. I'm going to try to make it as simple as possible. Down in the comment section, basically just type in the word Blue Yeti. Also, you have to be subscribed to the channel, of course, and it's always a pleasure. I mean, if you don't absolutely have to, but if you could hit that thumbs up button, it would be truly greatly appreciated. It helps benefit the channel and get this out. If you yourself already have a portable power station and want to either gift this or know someone that can use something like that, please take the time and share this out. You never know, someone out there might be in a position where they can't afford something like this. The cost on this unit right now is on sale for $449. I forget what the retail is. I just wrote down the sale price so you kind of get an idea of the sale itself. So $450 as the sale price of the Blue Yeti AC70. If you just intend on buying one, of course, affiliate links and all that stuff will be down below, as well as a pinned comment. But regardless, like I said, enter to win. You never know. You probably have a better chances of winning this than you do have the Mega Millions billion-dollar thing like that lucky guy up in New Jersey. Wouldn't that be awesome, folks? Anyways, I'm probably talked your ear off long enough. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. Remember, folks, you are not alone. This is GreyMan. I'm out. I'll see you guys on the rebound. God bless. And again, truly appreciate you guys taking the time to watch this video in its entirety.